Gamers have been eagerly waiting for Hogwarts Legacy, the new game based on the Harry Potter books. If you're someone like me that has not really read the books but has watched the movies, you might be wondering if this game is actually for you. I finally got my invitation, although it did come from a raccoon, but nonetheless, I was excited to jump into this game. So why don't we jump right into the review? Review yosa. I'm gonna put this down before I poke myself. So let's get straight to the point. Hogwarts Legacy is an amazing game. It took me by surprise. I did not expect this game to be this vast, this big, and so filled with quests and things to do. I honestly looked at this game as something that was a bit more focused, a bit more streamlined. You're going from place A to place B. Even though from the videos they showed us how big the area was and all that, I thought that we were going from one mission to the next, and that's how it's going to be for the rest of the game. I was surprisingly mistaken, and I'm glad I was mistaken. The game just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and although you feel like you have gotten a grasp of everything that's happening, new things, more things to do keep opening up. I honestly cannot stop playing this game, and this game does truly feel like the game that we always wanted in this world. On top of that, for anyone that generally just enjoys open world RPGs or open world action RPGs, this game is also for you. You don't need to be a Harry Potter fan for this game. You don't need to have read the books or even watched the movies. This is just a genuinely good game. Is it worth the price of admission? It definitely is. So Hogwarts Legacy starts off with us being a 5th year student going into Hogwarts. We can literally make ourselves into whoever we want to be. There's lots of options. I love the character creation in this game. It took me a long while to kind of get to what I wanted. I took my time with it, but I made it look the way I wanted it to. One thing I would recommend is going to the Wizarding World website where you can create an account and you're able to answer a couple of questions or so, and based on those questions, they will put you into a house. Based on a set of questions, they also give you a wand that is specific to you and also your Patronus. You're then able to link that account to your Warner Brothers account, which then links into the game. This is a cool feature that kind of comes into play later on when you get to Hogwarts itself, but it is nonetheless something that just made it feel a bit more personable. I, of course, with no cheating, got Gryffindor. Good thing I did not have to return this. So once you're done making your character, you get introduced to the story. I will be very mindful in terms of what I reveal. Even in terms of gameplay, it will be all early gameplay, so nothing will be spoiled. But you're basically a 5th year student who has just kind of been put into Hogwarts. People are wondering why this 5th year student is here. Early on, you get introduced to Professor Fig and a key that opens something magical perhaps. But nonetheless, there's a lot of mystery surrounding your arrival and also some weird things happening at the same time. There's also a goblin rebellion happening in the Wizarding World, and that's gotten everyone kind of up and down. But putting the story aside, the reason that we all wanted to play this game is Hogwarts, and they get this right on point. Now, I'm not someone that has read the books. I've mainly watched the movies, and I did really enjoy the movies, but it was more about the world that really captured me. And this game does exactly that. When I reached Hogwarts, the first thing that hit me was that I felt like a child again. The small nuances, the areas, the nooks and crannies, every little detail, so much work has gone into creating Hogwarts. You will find hallways filled with so much stuff, and when you're walking by everything, you will feel like every little thing has millions of books and writings of history behind it. The atmosphere around this game is simply amazing. I honestly cannot even describe the feeling you get just walking around the school. You can also go outside of the school. There's a lot of areas to explore. The map is quite big. At the same time, there's also other cities or village, actually I should say, called Hogsmeade that you can go to, where you can get a couple of supplies and things, and there's some cool stories and tidbits here and there for that as well. But in terms of the overall scope of the game, it is huge. It is really, really big. Like I said, I was surprised by how big this game was. The first time I opened the map, I kept scrolling back and I did not realize that's how big the world map was. Now for the key part, the gameplay. The gameplay in this game is actually quite good. You know what? Not quite good. It is amazing. So this is a third-person action-adventure game. Take it in the style of something like Horizon Zero Dawn. The whole idea is that you're a wizard, you're throwing out spells, so you're keeping at a distance. You're not going in there punching people or anything like that, but you are using your spells and you're able to combine spells and do different things and also interact with the world when you're fighting these enemies. The cool thing is when it comes to spells, you do learn more and more over time, of course, but at the same time, there's a lot of spells that are kind of up to you if you want to learn them. They are solely dependent on you actually going to class or doing assignments to have that spell unlocked. At the same time, there will be spells that you need to progress the story, which makes sense. and also spells that you need to do a couple of side missions. The movement of your character is quite fluid. At the same time, the feedback, the impact you get when you hit your wand and it impacts someone or hits someone, that feedback is really, really good. I will kind of compare it almost to Elden Ring, where when you get that feedback, you know you made that connection and you want to keep doing it again and again. So there's lots of fun to be had with the gameplay, lots of spells to learn. At the same time, your chance to kind of live out your wizarding dreams. There's lots of collectibles in the game as well, and once you kind of keep progressing with those collectibles, it will give you new gear, new items as well to be able to use. That goes into gear and items, how that works. So there is a leveling system, so as you progress in the story, as you find new collectibles, you do side missions and all that, you get XP, and your character levels up. So it does have a very typical RPG gearing system, you know, with uncommon, legendary, that kind of thing. But it does get you to keep playing the game, and it gets you to want to explore the entire world because there's so much to do. At the same time, you'll just never know what you'll get. There's random chests lying around the entire castle. You never know what you're gonna get. I should have said school. I've mainly been using my Xbox controller, but it does work on mouse and keyboard. I prefer the controller for any third-person kind of games, but if anyone does prefer mouse and keyboard, it's there to use, and it does a good job. And I should also mention that there's some cool side activities where you're not just kind of hitting people and trying to kill people or just knock them out all the time. There's some really cool sporting-like events that you can do, but again, I'm gonna leave that for you to discover. So we'll quickly talk about the graphics and how the game looks. I have an RTX 4090 and the game looks awesome. I have everything put on ultra. At the same time, I've had the ray tracing and everything turned all the way up, and the game just looks awesome. It runs really well, although there are a couple of hitches here and there. Apparently the day one patch will supposedly fix all these hitches and spikes that you get in your frame rate, but it is something to keep in mind of right now. Especially if you're playing on a lower end PC, it might be hard to kind of keep it at that 60 frames per second. But even with those hitches, I will say that the gameplay is seamless, so that you don't really notice it too much. And with that, we can also talk about me playing on the Steam Deck, because the game does run quite well on the Steam Deck. I did have to tweak the settings quite a bit, so you can pause the screen whenever you possibly can to kind of see the settings that I have put on. But with these settings, I'm able to get a 30 frames per second, sort of like, maybe it'll drop here and there, but overall it is a 30 FPS lock. It also feels really great playing on the Steam Deck. I can easily see myself just kind of doing a couple of assignments or any of the side missions on the Steam Deck, and then just kind of coming back and playing the rest of the main quest on my PC. It also gives me more of a chance to kind of keep on exploring because there's so much to see and there's so much to do. So just having this in bed is honestly a godsend. Now, I've always boasted about music and how important it is to actually immerse a gamer into a game, making sure that you feel the atmosphere, you feel like you're actually there, and having that right sound, the right soundtrack is extremely important. And with that, Hogwarts Legacy does an amazing job. There's no way I can play any of that on this video, but it is amazing. It makes you feel like you're in one of those movies, first of all. At the same time, it just matches. It matches with where you're traveling within the halls of Hogwarts. There might be a painting with a guitar and the guitar will start playing. It just kind of matches the scene and what is happening. You'll never feel like it's overbearing. At the same time, it is not subtle either. It is kind of giving you the right information when it comes to the atmosphere. And it just gets you in that zone. You know, you feel like you're at Hogwarts. You feel like you're a student there. You feel like you want to, pick up a wand and start whipping that around. Sorry. In terms of some of the issues that I've seen, there are a couple of glitches. So first of all, like I mentioned, that there is those frame rate stutters that you'll get here and there. I'll still wait for the day one patch to see if that fixes anything, but it is something to keep in mind when you're picking this game up. You'll occasionally see weird stuff happening in the world. Like I saw this student that just kept walking where they were standing. They were just not going anywhere. They're just kind of stuck. But again, these things are things we expect in open world games, unfortunately. But it is not something that really takes you out of it. It feels off when you see it, but over time you just kind of get over it, especially when you walk into a new area and everything is working or running perfectly. Although I have the game installed on my NVMe SSD, there are times when you're walking into a room or into an area, there'll be like a little tiny circle that pops up, which basically is kind of almost telling you that's loading the screen. The whole game is set up in a way where there is no loading screen, or there's not supposed to be. But even then, sometimes when you're walking into an area, you'll get that little circle pop up and you can't really do anything. At the same time, if you're walking into an area and let's say you're running or you're kind of walking quickly, your character will slow down or stop before you go to the area, even though you're holding the analog stick up. it just kind of stops because it has to load the next area in, and once it's done, you'll keep moving forward. But again, it is something that kind of gets a little frustrating here and there, and if you don't have an NVMe or an SSD, I'm not sure how this will work at that point. I feel like the loading times will be horrendous. But again, let's wait till the day one patch. Hopefully a lot of this gets fixed from that. There also has been a couple of times where 2 or 3 people will start talking over one another, especially if I'm doing a main quest or if I was even doing a side quest and I was listening to someone speak. All of a sudden, like an NPC that was talking will start talking. It would kind of layer on top. This only happened once, but again, something to kind of keep in mind. I don't think it is something that will happen a lot. At the same time, I do have a tendency to just read the subtitles, so I still get all my information. So overall, this game is amazing. I am simply in love with this game. I keep wanting to play more. I'm going to be playing more after I'm done with this video. It keeps calling to me, and that is saying a lot about this game. The world, the gameplay, the music, everything just meshes so well that it wants you, it keeps you going. It keeps you wanting to be in Hogwarts and just want to explore. If you're someone that has never read the Harry Potter books, you've never watched a movie, but enjoy fantasy games or anything like that, you will love this game. This is a very, very, very good fantasy game. If you read the books or you watched the movies, you will feel at home with this game. This is the game that you pictured in your mind way back when you played all those old games, but they weren't what we wanted. This is that game, the game that you pictured. It is finally here. And this game being kind of away from the Harry Potter books, it does really help because it feels like it's my story. It's my story as a wizard, and I dictate what happens next. There's so many options, there's so many choices, dialogue options, things that can change the way things are happening in that world, and it is all up to you. This is exactly what we wanted. This game is not only guaranteed to be one of my favorite games of this year, this is turning to be one of my favorite games of all time. I can't stop thinking about this game. This game is definitely worth the $70. Even with the main story being around 12 to 15 hours or so, depending on how you play, because there's so much to do. There's so much to do, like I'm saying it again. The whole world is so filled with activities and things to see that you will just not stop playing this game for maybe a month, if not more. I hope you enjoyed this video. You know what to do. I'll see you next time. All right. Endiosa.